time. A few mistakes ago.
An example of a physical change is crushing a can. It is a physical change because it is now flat and it is no longer cylinder, so it just changed its shape.
Melting ice cubes is an example of a physical change. It's a physical change because it's just changing the appearance of the ice cube. It's still an ice cube, but it's melted.
An example of a physical change is ripping paper. This is an example of a physical change because it is just ripped in half and you can still get the paper back. It is just a different, it just looks different.
Example of a physical change is breaking a pencil. It's still it's a physical change because it's still a pencil, but it's just broken and changed its appearance.
Putting food coloring in water is a physical change.
It's a physical change because if you wait long enough, you can get the food coloring out of the water because the water will evaporate, so that it never really mixes together to create a new substance.
An example of a chemical change is eating an apple. It is an example of a chemical change because when I swallow it, it gets digested and all the acid in my stomach breaks up the apple.
Burning a piece of paper is an example of a chemical change. That's an example of
Okay.
That's an example of a chemical change because after the paper is burnt, it turns into a new substance, and like an ashy one, and you can't get it back to its normal paper.
An example of a chemical change is cooking an egg. Oh, it's sticking really bad. It is an example of a chemical change because once you cook the egg, you can never get it to be raw again and it can never go back to its previous state.
Mixing baking soda and vinegar is a chemical change. It's a chemical change because you're mixing two substances together to get a new substance, and it's also a bubble, so it's giving off a gas.
An example of a chemical change is an apple rotting. The apple rots because of the oxygen in the air and the iron in the apple, which causes the apple to turn brown when you let it sit out for a long time.